This is about if it bleeds, it leads. That's right. So he has created and manufactured violence so that he can have a show on the television. But other people, older people, folks who are disabled, young people are going to be bleeding when Medicaid gets cut, when people are evicted from their homes. And this has been an illegal deployment of the Marines and the National Guards without the request or the consent of the sitting mayor and the sitting governor of the state of California.
Making it clear, Congresswoman Cam Lagardove joins us now. She represents parts of Los Angeles County and sits on the House Judiciary Committee.
Thank you for being here today, Congresswoman. That video that we played has actually gone viral. I've seen it all over TikTok. I've seen it over Instagram, even in my Twitter feeds. And I think it has gone viral because it cut through the noise very quickly. Because a reporter in the room said, oh, Tom Homan, though, says he's not going to arrest the governor. And you come from the side of the stage and come to the mic and say, let me tell you why he's not going to arrest the governor, because then that would change the narrative, and that's not what they want to talk about. How can more Democrats cut through the noise like you did?
We just have to keep it real and show the receipts. A couple of weeks before, we were battling with Republicans about this reconciliation bill, $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid, okay? So your sick grandmother, your disabled friend, your folks with disabilities will be cut. Republicans having all of these votes happen in the middle of the night because they knew it was so bad they didn't want to talk about it. Then we have this rescission package that's going to kill Elmo, right?
And rescission means taking back the money that Congress has already allocated.
Right. Yeah. And then we have the divorce without a prenup that went viral between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So we needed a major distraction from the major chaos coming out of this administration, and Donald Trump decides to produce that chaos in the city of Los Angeles by unlawfully deploying these troops. So keep it real for the people.
I'm curious who you think got what in that prenup, Congresswoman. To your point about distraction and about propaganda, I want you to take a look side by side of what Carolyn Levitt had to say about these protests and then what our own Jacob Sobroff was experiencing in Los Angeles.
The president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment. But that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles.
There's been a lot of coverage of how gnarly things are in L.A., and there's a small area where the protests have gotten intense. But this is nice. This is an interfaith vigil in downtown L.A.
Congresswoman, my understanding is you were a college student at USC during the riots that erupted after the Rodney King verdict. You know what this looks like when it is done correctly, when it is done incorrectly, when it is meant to inflame, and when it is meant to subside. What do you believe the federal government should be doing in this moment?
The federal government should be standing down and taking orders from the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of the state of California. I was on the call with U.S. Command. They said they did not request any of this. We know that the Governor Newsom also did not request for this. We know that LAPD chief has not requested for any of this. We know that our local law enforcement have been trained in de-escalation tactics, and they understand the community. It is also important to reiterate that the protests are happening in a 1 square mile area in a city that is over 500 square miles, and that the majority of the protests are peaceful. You have people, with balloons and drum circles, and really they are saying, we are tired of unlawful actions coming from this administration. We have lost faith and trust in this administration. There is no reason why you should send the military in to corral and to watch over civilians. They are not responsible for managing and overseeing civilian law. But this is what he has done. And so over the weekend, when we were celebrating Pride and when we were having graduations, you have ICE agents masked, not giving any identification, not bringing with them any kind of judicial warrants, snatching babies from elementary schools and taking grandmothers when they were going shopping. That is not immigration reform.
you talk about de-escalation, which is a critical part of this conversation right now, as state officials, local officials, even groups from outside of California, other elected officials are calling for that and trying to get the administration to get its act together and stop doing that. But then you have your colleagues in the House. Members of my party who seemingly have
Bless you.
I know I do confession weekly. They seem to have an old line view of all of this in how they speak about it. Speaker Mike Johnson, headline in Axios, referring to tarring and feathering the governor of California. You noted in a post on social media yesterday, you're a lawyer, Mike. If you think we should use a form of punishment from the 1700s on a sitting governor, please give us the legal analysis. I love the clap back, bring it to the real point. But what does it say that when you have the Speaker of the House saying that he's all for tarring and feathering the governor of a sitting governor of a state because of a political disagreement, a manufactured crisis in the state of California, as opposed to allowing the governor to use his competencies and the personnel around him to stabilize California and move the issues forward?
I obviously have major challenges with this speaker. There's a lack of leadership and a cowardice coming out of the office. You know, he's supposed to be Speaker of the House regardless of if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Obviously, we all want de-escalation, but we should be working with an administration that actually cares about having agencies that are functional and operational and are providing services to the American people, not in an administration that is cutting Title I funding, cutting funding to education, dismantling USAID, getting rid of FEMA. I mean, these folks are only interested in fealty and loyalty to an administration, and they are not interested in holding this administration accountable. And that is a real problem because this administration is constantly looking to circumvent the law and disobey the Constitution. That is why we have to bring so many things to the courts to remind everyone that this is not normal and we have an obligation to speak out about it.
Congresswoman, can I just say thank you for being here and not at the congressional baseball game tonight? Because
this has been a particular bug for Simone.
Yes, you could have been at the congressional baseball game pretending everything is like it always is, but you are here making it plain, and I think that that's important to say.
I appreciate that.